Bill O'Brien names his starting quarterback, and it's Dylan Lonergan. This was the right move and will help Boston College win now.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the special edition of Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network, and your leader in Boston College news. This is Locked On BC, a daily free Boston College podcast available 5 days a week for free on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Bill O'Brien, he names his starting quarterback on Tuesday in a surprise move for many. If you go back to listen to my show from yesterday, it wasn't that big of a surprise, but he names him. What does this mean for BC? This is what this special episode is all about. Now, on Tuesday morning, right before the first practice of the week, Pete Thamel releases his tweet that says that Bill O'Brien has named Dylan Lonergan as his starting quarterback. Now, all of you everydayers out there that have listened to this podcast have known that I've been leaning more and more towards Dylan Lonergan since I've been at practice for the last 2 weeks. I've watched him. I feel like he's had a clear edge at times over Grayson James, and this is his chance to do it. Now, this is the right move for Boston College. BC needed a quarterback that could help them win now. And I love Grayson James. What he did at the end of last year was short of heroic, winning 3 out of 4 games after Castellanos bombed on the team. Now, you have to pick football's a tough sport. You have to make tough decisions. BC made a tough decision here. Lonergan has shown that he is incredibly good in the pocket, that he can move the ball with his legs. He's quicker. The pressure comes in on him, and he can make either a read to get the ball out, or he runs. He's a mobile quarterback, which I think a lot of folks don't really expect from a guy like him. And he's got good accuracy and good poise. There's a reason Dylan Lonergan was one of the top 30 quarterbacks coming out of his class, and why a school like Alabama wanted him badly. Now he escapes the shadow of a Alabama quarterback room that had quarterbacks that were part of Pitt, that are now starting at Pitt, Ohio State, Bama. They're everywhere. He gets a chance, and this will be his chance. This is going to be a major opportunity, clearly, for Dylan Lonergan to go to do what he came to college to do when he went to Alabama. Because remember, Lonergan he committed to Alabama to be with Bill O'Brien. When Bill O'Brien takes the BC job, it takes 1 year, and then Lonergan joins him here. Clearly, this is a quarterback that Bill O'Brien thought very highly of when he was coming out of high school. We've watched from winter camp to summer to fall, a quarterback that has risen and not only grasped the offense, but has excelled at it. So this is not an episode to knock Grayson James. I will do more on him tomorrow because I'm a big fan of what he did here, and it's great that he is showing that he's a leader and not a quitter by sticking with his team, because he was there on Tuesday at practice, and he looked locked in as he did every other day since he's been here, and he will play a role. But for Lonergan, now is when the time starts. On Tuesday, he took all the first team starts. I can say that because that's what we talked about in the press conference. He's out there with the guys that you expect him to play, whether it's Jaden Skeet or Lewis Bond or Reed Harris sat out on Tuesday, so it wasn't him. But you saw some VJ Wilkins thrown out there, even some younger guys. And I love the way he sees the field so far. I love the way he utilizes tight ends, because we all know how important a tight end is in a Bill O'Brien offense. So those pieces, his ability to see the field, his poise under pressure, his accuracy with the ball, it led Bill O'Brien to make his choice. Now, after practice, Bill O'Brien said, it was a tough decision, but this was the time to do it. And now it's his chance. And this is going to be Dylan Lonergan's offense. So, I think when you're looking at where Boston College is at, they need to win this year. Winning this year is going to be absolutely critical. You need to build momentum with this program. You started with some good momentum last year, But it all gets caveated with that you had 7 wins again. You didn't get up to that next level. Now you have your quarterback, a quarterback you're going to have under your control, pending some sort of transfer portal thing, for 3 years. This is a potential program-changing quarterback if he does what he can do. And again, we have not seen him play yet, so we're hoping. There's a lot of hope here. And so I look at Lonergan, and in that 3-year cycle, that's going to give BC a chance to build. And you need a quarterback that is more than just a game manager. And I think at times that's what James did really well. And that's not a knock on him, because Castellanos was the other way. But he was a game manager. You need in college football a quarterback that can make plays, a quarterback that's dynamic. And James had his moments of being dynamic. But I really do believe that Dylan Lonergan, if he plays to his potential and what we've seen, again, this is only camp, he will be that kind of dynamic quarterback. He's got the weapons out there. I love the guys that they have around him that he can use, whether it's Lewis Bond, who was 3rd in the ACC in receptions last year, or Jeremiah Franklin, a incredibly reliable tight end that's going to be flanked by Ty Lockwood, who knows Dylan Lonergan like the back of his hand, because he's an Alabama transfer too. You have these guys together, and with a running game, he should be able to move the football more effectively than Grayson James. And I think that's how O'Brien made his choice. He wanted a guy that gives them the best chance to win right now. When you're asking about dynamic play, here's 2 examples of what I've seen at camp. There was a play on Sunday that Dylan Lonergan, I think I said this on another episode, but it bears repeating because it was so good. They were trying to just have him throw the ball long, and it was Dawson Pugh in the end zone. He had 2 defenders on him, but I still think they were pushing to have Lonergan just throw it there. He threw that ball with such accuracy to a spot only Pugh could grab it and hit him for a touchdown. I don't think I've seen a QB at BC in years that could do that kind of throw. It was incredible. James had some good throws last year, but this was like pinpoint. That was good. And also, I think the other play that bears repeating, I think it was last week. You have Lonergan back there. He's, looking for someone open. There's pressure coming in. What does he do? He looks around. He tries to find his guy. He doesn't see it. He takes off. Actually, it was during the scrimmage. If that play was not blown dead, Lonergan would have had about 50 yards on that play. So that's the thing about practice. Like, I can tell you about big plays and things like that, obviously, when they throw it deep. But you don't get to see like yak and yards after a play because usually they blow it dead. But that play, that would have been a major explosive play. And he's had a few of those. He threw, honestly, 2. Third one. I'll give you 3. Why not? Lewis Bond earlier, I think that was Sunday too, hit him on a slant. And he hit him in such a way that when Bond had it, he just had 50 yards of field in front of him. Again, they blew it dead. But he would have been gone. So the explosiveness is there, and Bill O'Brien saw all of that. He was watching. Like, if you were at practice, he's watching a lot of different things, but you could tell that there was times where he was very focused on the quarterback because it was such an important thing. Now, in a moment, I want to talk about what this means for BC this year and moving forward. I have some thoughts on that in just a moment. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black here of Eagle Insider. Thank you to all my everydayers. I released an episode this morning about Bill O'Brien having to make a choice this week. And what does he do? He preempts my show by making a choice. So that episode that was out earlier and I spent some time recording is now obsolete. But you know what? That's why I'm here. So let's talk more about this. What does this mean for BC this year? Well, you have your quarterback. But more importantly, not only do you have a quarterback that you're going to try to build your program around, like I said in that first segment, you have something that you haven't had in years, which is 2 quarterbacks that can play. Because how long has it been since BC's gone through an entire season with 1 quarterback playing in the majority and starting every game? It's been years. I think you have to go back all the way back to Patrick Tolles. I think he was the last one. Was it 2015, 2016? And every other year it's been 1. And even before that, it was 2 guys every year. So you need 2 quarterbacks. You had 2-ish last year, But then you had Tommy just leave, and then you were down to just Grayson. Now you have Grayson available. And we don't know. That's the thing with this. We trust that Bill O'Brien and his staff know what they're doing because they have been around good quarterbacks, and I think they know a good quarterback when they see him. But we also don't know how he's going to react. So you have a guy in James who's going to be there if you need him. And I think they're going to need him this year. I do not think this is closing the book on Grayson James. I think there will be times we're going to see him in the Fordham game right away. You're going to see him. He'll get his reps, but there could be anything. You never know what's going to happen. And so it's a relief to know that if something catastrophic happened, and God forbid that happens, that you have another guy that can come in and start for you. And he's not going to be a huge drop-off. We know what Grayson James can do. He can play. So that's positive. You also have what looks to be your progression through the quarterbacks now. Now it's no longer guessing who you have. You look at next year, you have Dylan Lonergan. You look 2 years from now, you have Dylan Lonergan. That's going to help. That will allow Shaker Rising to, he's going to compete for that job. You know he's going to get his chance too. And who knows, maybe next year it's Shaker Rising as a starter. But 1 year at a time here, you're starting to see how the progression goes. And that competition is what's going to make BC better. For how many years do we go to every single camp and you have like one guy and that's it? And then the rest of your quarterback room is like walk-ons and guys that just end up failing out. Not failing out, but, flaming out, excuse me. It happens every year. Once Shaker Rising is ready, you're going to have 3 guys on your roster. That kind of depth is critical to Boston College's success. You got to have it. And they have it now. And, on tomorrow's show, I'll talk about what Grayson James sticking around means to BC because it's huge. But he's also going to be able to be a mentor, probably to help out Dylan Lonergan a little bit too. He's a veteran. This is his 5th year. If he doesn't play this year or only plays a couple games, maybe it would be great to see him have his redemption arc someplace else too. Like maybe Grayson ends up somewhere else and he plays. But for this year, he'll be there to help out with Lonergan. Lonergan's the young guy who's just starting, and this is his first couple starts. He's going to need, a couple mentors. He's going to have his coaches, but he's going to need players that will help him out and show things up. That's where Grayson James is going to show up. And the last piece of this I want to talk about is, what is this offense going to look like? What are we going to expect? I see a lot of, cynical people saying, oh, it's just going to be a running offense and, the passing's not going to be there. That's nonsense. Bill O'Brien always wants to have a balanced offense. That's what he had with the Patriots. That's what he had with the Texans. Balance is important to him. Last year, it really wasn't that balanced. He had some passing, but BC finished in the 100th, 99th in passing yards. So you're looking at this year and you're going to say you have the guys throw the ball more. So hopefully with Lonergan there, this is going to make this passing attack more dynamic, which will then make the job of guys like Turbo Richard, Jordan McDonald, and Alex Broom that much easier. When you don't have to sit on the run, which even near the end of last year, it felt like they were running a lot, you can make your passing game, make it easier for your run game, and really balance everything out. Like, you just need to be able to make sure that defense respects your passing game. And when is the last time anyone has respected BC's pass game? You got to go back to Djokovic. That first year Djokovic, I felt like, but they had no run game that year. But this could be the first time in years the defenses are going to have to really respect BC's ability to throw the ball. That's where Lonergan can go. And I want to wrap this up by saying this is just a quick mini episode because I felt like I gypped all of you guys with an episode that was already out of date by the time it hit. But now it's Dylan Lonergan's turn to work. We can talk him up. I can tell you all the great things that he's done at times, but when the feet, hit the asphalt, it's his turn to do this. He's got to be able to make those throws, not make big mistakes, and show that he is the quarterback for BC for the next 3 years. Can he do it? You guys are going to have to wait to see. On tomorrow's show, as I said, I'm going to talk more about this news. We're going to talk about what Grayson James means to this program and a whole lot more. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm doing bonus episodes. I told you, I do them when the news comes up. BC News doesn't come up that often, but I wanted to for this one because I thought it would be important. Make sure you follow along on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Check me out on TikTok, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on everything. Just make sure you follow along so you get all your Boston College news from me. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day.